Right, welcome everybody. My name is Terminus, and today we are going to attempt. If you see my last reaction, you know what I mean. Attempt to react to episode 10 of Monster. It'll be an interesting episode. Let's see what happened last time on Monster. Episode 9 was an interesting episode because we did see like the introduction of our maybe one-off character of like the soldier Hugo. Bernhard, I think, was the name. Tenma moved towards Verden. We're slowly building up to a possible confrontation, maybe cliffhanger this episode, question mark? I don't know, we'll see. Either way, we talked about this mostly, right? Police station in Gießen, we do have a child playing in the rain, and we do see later on who she is. Lunge is on Tenma's trail, but is behind. The ants eating up the butterfly, which I still don't know what it means, probably. I mean, obviously, right? Forces greater than yourself, right? Or maybe many people who think that you're guilty, right? It's kind of still diluted. It's kind of still like out of my grasp what it could specifically mean. I know what it generally symbolizes, right? Right, I do have a feeling for what it could symbolize in this regard. Do let me know what do you think about the sound, by the way. I'm probably gonna hear it in editing and see how it is. I'm testing different microphone positions the last couple of reactions over. Yeah, Tenma training a lot to be physically fit, right? To be able to defend himself and possibly, right, apprehend or attack Johan. To be able to shoot him if he needs to. Our child observing, right? Him kind of just inadvertently, by being there, changing the relationship between Hugo here and our unnamed girl from Myanmar. You see a lot about how Dr. Tenma impacts other people and how other people impact Dr. Tenma, which I like a lot. I do love this thematic that's behind that. Yeah. Shooting guns in the wood. Very interesting. With the holster that he got to keep, question mark, right? The cool letters and like some Japanese food. So that is one of the few times that I actually saw Tenma laughing, which which is not the I'm talking to patients and trying to be kind laugh, which he genuinely means, of course, but this is a different kind of smile as the one where you're just amused about something. So it's really nice to see Tenma being at least tentatively amused about something and actually genuinely trying to laugh. And holy shit, he looks cool in like the holster and whatnot. And yeah. Can't stop being Dr. Tenma, can't stop being kind, but here we do have him determined, right? Determined to possibly do something which is not his nature. And I think Hugo kind of just feels that, right? Feels that Dr. Tenma is a certain kind of person who rather helps people than he does hurt them, which is maybe also a reason why he eventually gave him the opportunity to learn how to use a gun, because he was like, yes, this is not a person who just wants to shoot and murder. This is a person who maybe has something specific that he needs to do, or maybe he needs to protect himself for some reason or another, but this is not the kind of person who just shoot people, and this is why I'm willing to take him to the gun range and actually train him in that matter. But Lunge doesn't think so. Ah yeah, the good old woods of Germany. I don't know where we are. Schwarzwald, whatever. I don't know, right? Danke für alles. Thank you for everything. Or herzlichen Dank für alles. My sincerest gratitude for everything. A little bit more formal on his end here. The improvement. I do love how we're like into like, especially when you show like interrogation rooms and whatnot, you have this top-down perspective, right, that's coming in. And this is a really cool detail, in my opinion, that you can just put on here, right? That you're looking top-down, because it creates this image of like two people sitting opposite of one another and this being somewhat of a tense situation, right? you do feel like the room is cornering you in, right? Like there's confinement going on, like there's like a strict, like, I can almost not explain it. Maybe some of you can explain it better, but this is a really cool shot from like top down. Once again, we have these little details that are being built in here, right? Like, you could have him just walking out the room with the top-down perspective, but we change perspective to Inspector Lunge smiling slightly, right, and thinking to himself, and then him walking through the picture, stopping shortly in front of Lunge, and then going on. We don't need these details, but it adds to the scene, right? And the rain obviously creates the constant atmosphere, that this washed out, right, toned down, right, somewhat darker atmosphere, but at the same time we do have the streaks of light in the sky and the reflections of the surface, which is very nice to look at, very, very beautiful to look at, especially if it's drawn well and with like the reflections of the buildings being in the clear wet surface of the street and the sidewalk, and the hand being extended, him taking it, her being very affectionate in that moment, and him being very thankful that this is the moment, or this is the situation he's in now, right? Meanwhile, Tenma, completely different, right? Locked into himself, huddled up from the harsh outside cold, which we can also see as the metaphor of the harsh world outside, right? And determined to do his thing with the shaking truck that he's sitting in the back of, hitching a ride. And we're slowly going over the hills here. And we go back into that outro. Yeah. Let's get into episode 10, actually. If you're new to this, pip in the description down below, edited reaction right here. Check out the Discord, check out the Patreon, give me a like afterwards. Please come back to YouTube, leave the video running, all that jazz, right? And let's just get into it. Right, let's get this party started. Monster episode 10 starts in a 3, a 2, a 1.
レッドチェリーが入ってなきゃマンハッタンとは呼べねえだろうが。
Holy shit, Germans. Just one fucking gulp and it's done. This guy, holy shit, what kind of crook is that? Never trust anybody who's superstitious. They're not logical. I'm halfway kidding, right? I mean, superstitious people exist, that's just how it is. I mean, it's just as much a belief system as religion and anything else, right? I do wonder what cities we're gonna go through over time. Like, we've seen so much already, but only, well, mostly west-north Germany. No, west-south Germany, right? Like, that's little corner of Germany. I'm gonna be very curious what we're gonna see after that. Looks like a mansion. Werden, okay. Springer Estate. Springer. That sounds like, you know, Springerstiefel? Like maybe fashion brand, right? Holy shit, bro is gonna loot the house. Like a candy store. You always talking to yourself, man. Ooh. It's kind of morbid, right? But at least I guess they don't need it anymore. What's happening? A chill. Is it just a feeling or is it actual temperature? Oh, it's gonna kill. Ooh, Tenma, what are you doing? Not an officer.
だからよ。私は警察じゃない。なんだ、同業者かよ。そんな物騒なものを下ろして穏便に手を頭の上に。殺だ。おめえヘマしやがったな。俺は逃げるぞ。ついてくるんじゃねえよ。
Tenma needs information. He was looking for clues. Obviously the police would have a keen eye on that as a former murder scene.
新聞に出てたシュプリンガー議員殺しの重要参考人とかいう医者かよ。そっちは空き巣か。その通り。あんたみてえに殺しなんて野暮な真似はしねえ。
Actually, not gonna lie, he looks better.
さあね、とっとと俺の前から消えな。じゃあな。はい、ドクター。確かあんた超一流の外科医だったよな。俺の明晰な頭脳に今ピピンとした。
Oh no, what do you want?
偶然だと思うか、ドクター。違うんだな。人間の
Oh, okay.
あらかじめ決まってんのよ。
It all happens for a reason, huh?
裏の世界じゃあんたみたいな人間を必要としてる連中が山ほどいるんだ。医者を呼びたくてもやばくて呼べずに死んでいくような連中がよ。
Ooh, okay.
さあ、このヘッケル様に任せろ。
Heckle, okay.
モーグリの医者にしてみせら。裏の稼ぎは桁が違うぜ。あっという間に億万長者。
You're like, alright, see ya.
ドクター、どこ行くんだよ。
It might be a way for him to earn money, but he's too...
待てよ。あの屋敷の殺人について知りてんだろ。なんたって俺犯人見てんだもんよ。なんだって。
Wait, what are you on about? Earlier you said you know nothing.
その犯人は金髪の20歳ぐらいの男じゃなかったか。なんだそりゃ。とにかくその犯人のことを話してくれ。俺と組むんだったら教えてやる。
Right, he'll rope him in, but he doesn't know anything, so he has to find it out. And he might die in the process.
あの議員の屋敷は目つけてから1ヶ月もリサーチしてたのさ。
Ooh, okay. Actually, he might not have been...
これゆすれば金になるってんで犯人の後をつけたってわけさ。これでこの事件のあんたの無実は証明された。警察に垂れ込むなり好きにしな。そしたらどっかでいっぱいやりながら俺たちの夢のような将来について語り合おうじゃ。
Well, if this was the truth, then you're plenty stupid.
では殺人犯だぞ。お前殺されちまうぞ。
I don't think Johan is there anymore.
しかしあんな金づるめったに見つからねえぞ。やばい橋は渡らねえ主義なんだがな。
You might follow him, right? He's like, he better not get himself killed. But like I said, Johan's probably not there anymore. You played your cards too early, dude. But I guess if you would be bullshitting him without having anything... not Johan. But maybe somebody who knew him. Or knows him.
実はある人物を探しているんですが。ドクター、生きてるか？ドクター。バカ、銃持ってるじゃねえか。
母とね、よく歩いたんですよ。
Was he the killer or not?
ひまわり畑の道をこんな夏の日に。その母もずいぶん前に死にましたけどね。
あなたは誰かに依頼されてその銃を使ったんじゃありませんか？ある男に。
ああ、ある日バーで声をかけられたんです。
Alright.
金髪の20歳ぐらいの青年。
そう、とっても綺麗な笑顔なんです。
𝐏𝐢𝐏𝐿, okay, new name.
何度か会ってすっかり友達になりましてね。彼の家に招待してくれたんです。シュプリンガー議員の家に。
彼はつい最近まであの屋敷に。
ええ、1年ほど前から息子同然に可愛がってもらって。
Ooh, how does he get himself into these situations?
だけどそんなやつ見なかったぞ。
素敵な一家でした。この写真、私と議員夫婦です。でも、あれだけは許せませんでした。
Ooh, but he's talking about... No.
議員の屋敷の中にひまわりの花壇があったのに、車寄せを作るために潰しちゃったんです、議員が。あれはひどすぎるって言ったら エーリヒもその通りだって言いました。
Ooh, this might be an individual who is not quite.
それにエーリヒが教えてくれたんです。シュプリンガー議員には愛人がいるって。僕はもうシュプリンガー議員の家族になるのはやめたって。僕はこの家族の一員じゃないって。彼は僕に頼んだんです。この家族を消去してくれって。
So was Johan even involved?
私の母もある男の愛人だったんですよ。
あのよ、そんなことよりおめえ、あの屋敷の金庫の場所知らねえか？
確か2階の書斎の奥です。
オッケー。ドクター、あんたも早くずらかれ。
This guy. Holy shit.
知ってますか？過去は消去できるんです。気に入らなければすべて消し去ることができる。
私はそうは思わない。忘れようとすることはできても過去を消すことはできない。
Yeah, I mean, Tenma believes that.
なんでそんな風に思ったんだろう。なんであの時この引き金を引くと過去が消せると思ったんだろう。のみを聞いてしまったんだ。
But who is it actually Johan's request or is it somebody else, right?
話は
Because the picture shows him.
てください。ああ、そうだ。あなたドクター。
Oh, yes, it's Johan, okay.
メッセージを見てください。彼からあなたへのメッセージ。あの屋敷の書斎にあります。
He left clues.
ここに来ることを知ってました。エーリヒは言ってました。あなたの運命はもう決まっているって。
Holy shit. No, 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 don't. Oof.
ドクター、だから言った。これは自殺か。
Indeed. I do wonder, like, a lot of the individuals that Johan was acquainted with and used for his purposes seemed like people who were not in the best mental state, right? Maybe even mentally ill.
たまにはいいことを言うんだな。
たまにはたなんだ、たまにはたよ。で、つまりあんたはそのヨハンだかいうとてつもない連続殺人犯を追っかけてるってわけか。はっ、そんなバカバカしいことほっといて俺と組もうぜ。
What's that about? The message?
何震えてんだよ、ドクター。
僕を見て、僕を見て。僕の中のモンスターがこんなに大きくなったよ。ドクター・テンマ。ヨハンは、彼は楽しんでいる。
Yeah, he is. Or maybe a part of him is. Interesting that he distances himself from the monster inside of him. He might. Okay.
こちらがお客さんだ。あんたを患者のところまで連れてく。荷物は俺が預かっとく。返して欲しかったら仕事して金を受け取って暮らしてん。
Be careful, he might kill you at some point. I mean, he doesn't want to.
稼いでらっしゃい。これはやっぱりボロいビジネスだ。
He's gonna die, isn't he?
牢屋、医者連れてきました。
And obviously this is...
早く血を止めてくれ。
I guess this is when the doctor sets in.
おい、先生手ぶらじゃないか。手術の道具が揃えたのか。
いや、街の中やばくてそこまでは。道具があってもここで手術なんかできないよ。
Yeah, that's true.
早くちゃんとした医者に見せるんだな。それができたらとっくにやってる。早く治せ。4時間前か。お前たち今朝のテロ事件の犯人か。
だったらどうなんだ。
断る。なんだと？無差別テロをやるような人間を直す気はない。
Ooh.
が今どういう状況にいるのか
He
分かっている
does.
のか？まあ待て。もうすぐ俺たちの仲間が助けにやってくる。それまでに血だけは止めてくれ。なんだその態度は。死にたいのか？待てと言ってるだろ。でもロヤ。
Hmm.
とりあえず今この先生は
Yep.
俺の命を握っている。
Exactly.
俺がもし死んだらその時は撃ち殺せ。
こっちも慈善事業やってるわけじゃないんでね。借金25万マルク返してくれないか。
Holy shit. Who does?
とりあえず両腕へし折っとけ。
返します。
いい子だ。
だからあと1ヶ月待って。
両足も折っとけ。
マックス・シュタインドルフ、カール・ブランドの2名とみられ、ゲーベー社はこの両名に対する有力な情報には30万マルクを支払
Ooh, and he's like, okay, let me just rat them out.
金返せるよ。俺こいつらのいい場所知ってんだ。それで借金はチャラだ。
本当だろうな。嘘だったら首の骨へし折るぞ。
本当絶対本当。でも今あそこには天馬が言ってるんだっけ。まあいいか。
Doesn't matter for him, yeah.
冗談じゃない。俺がやったことにはちゃんと意味が。
Alright, do tell.
俺はあのゲーベー社の会長を殺すことができて、いつ死んでもいいくらいすっきりしてるんだ。俺は東側で弁護士をやってた。こいつは政治家の秘書だった。壁が崩壊してみんな職なしだ。先生、あんた俺たちの気持ちわかるか？
Yeah, but not what you're doing.
米社は壁が崩壊した直後、金に物を言わせて東に乗り込んできた。俺たちの土地に強引に工場を作った。
Drove them out of business.
俺は誇りを持ってやつ。
The conflict is still there, right? The divide.
誇り。寒い。頑張れ。もうすぐ仲間が助けに来る。来ないよ。仲間は来ない。そんな気がする。血止めろ。今止めろ。でなきゃ撃ち殺す。死にたくない。死にたくない。死ぬのが怖いか？みんなそうやって死んでいったんだ。お前に殺された12人も
Alright.
みんなそうやって。それが人を殺すということだ。消毒液とハサミを。それぐらいあるだろう。
Alright. Interesting. He waits till the last moment, and maybe he can save him, but...
低血圧性ショックを起こしている。損傷動脈を指で圧迫して止血する。開放部の皮膚を縫合する。針と糸。そんなもんねえよ。ならホッチキスいい。早く用意し
Just get the shit, dude. Don't ask stupid questions. Yeah. I mean, he doesn't feel it anymore, right? He's in shock. But he needs the proper hospital.
どうするつもりだ？応急処置はした。病院へ運ぶ。
Yeah, he ain't gonna survive if you don't take him.
病院だと？何考えてんだ？殺さないと撃ち殺すぞ。撃ちたければ撃て。もし私を撃つなら、お前がこの男を病院へ運べ。
He needs one. Right, he can't do anything here. You gotta fix up the artery. Or find a bypass to put down.
ここで下ろせ。
Nah, he's gonna bring him to a hospital.
思い出したよ。どこかで見た顔だと思ったが、連続殺人の容疑で手配されている医者だろう。俺のやったのは無差別テロなんかじゃない。俺が殺したのはゲーベー社の会長とその腰巾着とボディーガードだ。
No civilians?
なった人間はいないというのか。あの売店にいた子か。やっぱり知っていたんだな。あの子を撃ってしまったこと。
And there's guilt.
どうしてこんな男を助けた。あんたの目は殺されるのを恐れた目じゃない。
Of course.
なぜこんな無差別テロの人殺しを助けた。信じたからだ。お前は人間だって。
Not a monster.
行け。警察が来る。
And that is the difference, right? Between Johan and a person like him, who maybe has done awful things, but
あんた名医だよ。
has that capacity to feel the guilt, to feel empathy.
これで金はどうしたんだよ。まさか直すだけ直して帰ってきたんじゃねえんだろうな。
And he's getting a 300,000 mark.
慈善事業やってんじゃねえんだぞこら。おい。
He's just repeating like the stuff that he's been told, but he doesn't have like the authority to push his stuff on Tenma. Tenma doesn't give a fuck, and I love it. I mean, he does give a fuck, but he also doesn't. I'm starting to wonder if the ED is actually Tenma's voice in a way, right? Because it makes sense. Tenma and Ana, more or less. Kinderheim, children's home. Alright. Don't know what the 511 means, but alright, I guess we're gonna find out eventually. Alright, let's talk about it, shall we? Okay, recording time. Talking time. Alright, talking time. Boom, let's get it on the screen. We get to know our... I don't even know if we... I'm sorry, I'm really bad about that, but I don't even know about the name. I think we hear it later when he actually gets kind of pressed for the money he's still owing. This dude, holy shit. If I've ever seen a shady character. Holy fuck. This dude with his like buck teeth and whatnot. Yeah, Tenma is around and he's breaking into the home of like the Springer family, who whatever, like rich family, right? Who have been murdered by Johan, possibly, supposedly, right? In proxy. Johan rarely does his murders himself. And he's holding him down, right? Bro is like, okay, you might be more troublesome than the police. Yes, he probably is. But yeah, we'll book it out of here, and he looks really cool in this shot, right? Not gonna lie. First of all, nice shot once again, starting from the sky, like with the two buildings on either side, and then we go down here. But he looks really good, right? He looks more built, I feel, right? And he like his half long hair, it looks really neat. Especially now that he doesn't have the stubbles. But he doesn't give a fuck anymore. He's like, nah, man. He's like, come on, we can do something, right? There's a lot like the people who need your help on the black market, and yes, indeed, it would be a good amount of income for Tenma, I would assume. So maybe he's gonna do it eventually here and there, right? But Tenma doesn't do his stuff for like money, he does it for principle. The problem is, how is he gonna eat? I'm pretty sure he's still got money, but the question is if his accounts are still going. We had that talk earlier. Yeah. And he's kind of dangling the carrot in front of him. He says like, I know the killer. And at first I thought he was actually just bullshitting, right? He was just roping him in and it worked hook, line, and sinker. But actually, probably I would assume that off screen, Tenma and him talked back and forth, and Tenma was like, I'm gonna walk away right away if you don't bring me to that guy immediately up front, right? And this is what he did. He was like, here he is. Now, you can tell the police and now we can go. I don't know how he knows he's the murderer, right? He just said like he was like trying to like observe the mansion for quite some time when he saw like this dude was kind of doing his thing, and kind of he's gotten to know that he was gonna go in there and murder somebody. Yeah. I do wonder why he got the chills earlier when he just went for that door. That there's something like happening behind there, right? Now, obviously, there was this like message we saw behind the picture, right? But I do wonder if there was still something more, because why would he get the chills otherwise? It's kind of weird, right? Either way, Tenma makes it up there and is kind of just talking to this individual, which doesn't seem perfectly sane to me, right? We talk about it. And we said like he lived in a mansion until recently. He said he took care of him like a son since about a year ago. I do wonder if this is actually Johan or if it's him, because didn't we just see like in the picture frame when he's like, they were a wonderful family, here's a picture, he's pointing over, and we see like, that's me and the councilman and his wife. Yeah, he's this is so weird. Alright, let me go back. So, we met a few times and became good friends, right? He invited me to his home, the councilman Springer's home. He said they took good care of him like a son since about a year ago. I never saw anybody like that, right? And he said they were a wonderful family, here's the picture. And you do see like possibly the councilman, right? And his wife and him in here. That's me and the councilman and his wife. But there was something I just couldn't forgive them for. And he changes to me, right? So he's kind of confused about his identity, disassociating from maybe himself doing the deed, right? So how much of it is actually true? How much of it is Johan actually meeting up with him and getting him to do it? And how much of it is him just confusing the two identities, right? Or does he have like multiple personality disorder and he himself like is just disassociating and he has these two personalities, and this friend that he met is that? But then how does Johan fit into that picture, right? Maybe Johan gave himself, like, pretended to be that friend of his, right? Or maybe gotten to know him and started to become like friends with him, and then this is how he created that person. But it's so interesting. I mean, at the very least, Johan must have had the manipulation skills to actually know exactly what to say to this guy here, to actually get him to switch, right, and commit the murder, right? And it must have been real for him. So he might have been like a mentally unstable person who has been struggling in life and has been living with like the Springers, and then, or maybe he hasn't even been living with the Springers and he actually had like a tentative connection where they had a picture taken of one, like, of them together and whatnot, and it was kind of just all in his head. Either way, he was mentally unstable and he was somehow in the position to actually have access to that mansion. And Johan managed to manipulate him, right? Make him believe a certain reality that he himself was already spinning up, and nudge him into that direction of actually killing the Springers, which is absolutely bone-chilling if you think about that. A person is capable of that. Erich. And that's his name, like Erich. Councilman had a mistress, and this is his connection to his old, like, right. He also said this: I'm no longer want to be a member of the Springer family. Yeah, he's talking like he is him, or him is he. I'm not a member of that family. Then he asked me to, please eliminate that family. It's so weird, right? How he... I do wonder if this stays a mystery, or if we get to know more about this later down the line and we find out how Johan actually did it. Either way, this is a very, very unstable individual, a very, yeah, very damaged individual that is, yeah, at the end, right? Everything is breaking apart. The whole delusion he was in, he believed that this was gonna free him, right? This was gonna solve all of his issues, right? Erase his past and whatnot, and now we are in the position. Dude's just robbing the fucking dead family. But either way, we do find the picture frame and we take it down. Interesting. I do wonder what kind of, if that was a special picture, if it was just a random picture. Either way, Tenma probably realized the picture frame was kind of off, or there was something behind it, and that Johann arranged that exactly for him to notice. Mein lieber Dr. Tenma, sehen Sie mich, sehen Sie mich. Das Monstrum in meinem Selbst ist so groß geworden. My dear Dr. Tenma, look at me. Witness me, maybe, also, right? Witness me, witness me. The monster inside of me, inside of myself, has become so big. And I do wonder why he's disassociating himself with the monster, right? He's saying the monster inside of me. He doesn't say, I'm the monster, I've gotten so big, or, right, right? He's saying it like the monster inside of him is like a separate personality from himself, or like a split up part of himself that's getting bigger and bigger and taking over. And yes, Tenma is saying he's having fun, right? He's mocking you, and he is. But I do wonder if this is also kind of a scream for help deep down. Now, obviously, you have a very antisocial personality with Johann, right? He's very cruel, he's very non-empathetic, right? He might understand people's emotions, but he doesn't care about them and feel with them. But I do wonder if a part of that, like his desire to, for Dr. Tenma to witness his deeds, right? His desire to make himself known to Dr. Tenma especially, and to put that part of himself out there and display it like this, the monster inside of myself, right? As if his self is more than just the monster. If that is kind of a hint that there's more to him than just being a monster. But yeah, there's definitely a lot of mocking going on. Do have that little situation with the terrorists. I do like that we have a lot of side plots going on where we see what's happening in the country in general, right? That there's a lot of things, right? We do have political unrest, we have other things, right? Events that are concurrent to the times, and Dr. Tenma is kind of like at the peripherals, roped up in some of these, because he is a very talented surgeon, and people try to make use of him if they know who he is or what he's capable of in his specific field of medicine, right, of saving lives. But he does have his principles, right? He's fairly judging that this guy doesn't have a chance until he sees a hospital. He doesn't fear death, which, holy shit, that conviction. He sits down and he's like, I'm gonna wait until he almost dies, and then I'm gonna tell him, look what you did. Look how the people feel when you're doing this. Mr. Groß is the person that our scoundrel here is owing a lot of money to. But I still don't... Oh yeah, Heckle. That's his name. Heckle. Which, sounds a little bit like heckling, right? Yeah. And Mr. Groß means Mr. Big. Interesting, yeah. Very simple but effective name, right? And we do have that, like, Erfurt, very interesting. Another, right, more of a northern city. But yeah, we have acts of terrorism. GWE, I think, I'm gonna be honest, I can't really, let me just look that up. Alright, so it's not that well known, but I do assume that it's the German water and like a big German water and energy group that moved in back then, right? When East Germany kind of when the wall fell, and then they've kind of been poaching stuff and taking over, right? And running people out of business and whatnot. So there's a lot of resentment going on when times change. That's always happening, right? Especially back then when we did have like West Germany and East Germany, and West Germany was, and even today to a minor degree still is, a lot richer, right? A lot more, like, has a lot more productive industries and money in it, right? Because of the, like, having way more mileage when it comes to the global economy, especially the Western connected economy, while the DDR, that's how it's called, like in German, the Deutsche Demokratische Republik, the German Democratic Republic, which was ran by the Soviet Union, was more on communism, right? There was more like less personal luxury, less personal economic growth for people, right? Everything was state-owned, but the problem with state-owned stuff, if it's to that extreme, right? If it's to the extreme that everything is state-owned and everything is like you're getting paid by the state who owns the companies, who owns like the factories and whatnot, the problem is that there's never any real need for innovation other than like, because you don't have competition. Everything is owned by the state. You don't have competition. You pay the workers just as much as they need. You develop just as much as you need, right, to be productive, right? It kind of leaves like there is a real value to competition in the open market. Now, obviously, you can do it too much, right? You can do it. You can overdo it. You can under-regulate it, right? Not have it regulated enough to the degree that we're in America, where there's almost no unions, where there's almost no laws and rules that really dictate much in terms of like the rights of the workers and all of these things. That's kind of problematic. But at the same time, you can do it too much, right? With communism, you do have that heavy focus on everything is state-owned, everything is state-given, and you yourself, like luxury itself, or at the very least, like owning individual things, right? Taking ownership and responsibility of things is not something you should or you is encouraged to do. You are just kind of a servant of the state, more or less, which raises the problem of like the people who are being at the top, who actually can make the policies and laws and who are kind of able to change things, right? They will always be kind of better paid because they pay themselves more. They will have more rights, more luxuries, all of that. And in the meantime, right, you do have no competition between companies because every company is state-owned. Now, if you're in a free market economy that is somewhat regulated, you do still have your rules and regulations that make sure that workers are treated relatively well. Although even in something like Europe over here, they're not treated all that great, and depending on the company, they can kind of skirt the lines and just find the loopholes and just do whatever they want in some aspects and still treat you badly. But at the same time, you do have that effect of the market economy where things that are popular, things that are being bought a lot, things that have good quality, right? Good like a good reputation as well. Things like these, they're being bought more and you make more money. And to be competitive in a market like this, you have to innovate, right? You have to find new ways to sell your product, new ways to actually develop your product, to make it better, to make it more reliable, to make your company also seem like something that's worth supporting. And that has its inherent value as well, right? It leads to innovation. Now, obviously, like I said, downside is if you don't regulate it enough, there's just going to be cheaper and cheaper, and right, things are going to break because you want them to break, not because they break naturally, right? You build stuff in where things break and then you have to buy a new one, right? This is what we see these days, the trend, right? Finding cheaper and cheaper labor, finding cheaper and cheaper materials, managing to actually get more and more money in saving at every corner. And that is not good as well, right? Because it leads to decay in terms of like the quality of things you're enjoying, right? And then things don't work together, right? If you have faulty material or material that is suboptimal, it's obviously going to work suboptimal, and then it's gonna break down at the moments you need it the most, and then the problem is you are less productive, and when you're less productive, the people who are reliant on you are less productive as well, because they have to wait for you to actually get your materials, your machines fixed, all of the stuff that you have, right? And it continues like that, and it's the same for workers' rights, of course, right? You don't give your workers any rights, you work them to death, obviously. They're going to be sick more often, even if they don't intend to, even if they don't get paid when they're sick. They're going to leave your company for a better one. They're going to rather work less and earn less money than work more, and then less money is being circulated, which means the economy isn't stimulated as much. it's a lot of issues, but it's long-term issues. That's the problem. A lot of times companies just look at the next like 2 or 3 years and they're like, okay, how can we make more profit? The problem is they kind of collapse on themselves if you think about it. If you have a company, for example, who keeps saving when it comes to personnel, right? Paying them less, employing less people, right? And then just saying, well, now you worker X, you have to do the job of 3 people. We just don't have enough people, right? What am I supposed to do? We don't have enough people. And then you're like, you're not paying them enough. Well, they're not worth that much, right? Or that, right? Even if we pay them enough, it wouldn't work, right? And then the company collapses on itself because you're paying them less and less. You're giving them less and less benefits. You're treating them worse, right? You're giving them less vacation days. You're giving them less sick days. That's a absolutely awful thing anyway, to actually kind of have to dictate people how many days they can be sick in like in a year. Yeah, obviously there should be like an upper limit where you're like, look, dude, we can't hold you anymore. You're more sick than you're actually working. But honestly, you need to treat your people right, because long term it's gonna bite you in the back. But anyway, like giant tangent. But Heckler's getting himself out of the situation by tattling on these people. And he's like, oh, Dr. Tenma's gonna be here, but whatever, right? Me more important. Tells Dr. Tenma everything he needs to know, but I think he knew that from the get-go. When he was like, the first sentence that came out of Heckler's mouth, Tenma was like, yeah, this is this kind of guy. But yeah, he's saving him, obviously, because that's the person he is. But he's more or less taught him a lesson, right? He's shown him how death looks, shown him how it feels. And he's just carrying him out, and he's like, I'm gonna leave you here. Well, he is actually suggesting that. He's like, I know you're kind of wanted. Just get the fuck out of here, Rook. Don't save a guy like me. And this is telling Tenma what he wanted to know all along, that this guy actually has a conscience, right? That this guy may have done terrible things, and was aware that he did shoot this girl that was at the newsstand, right? Happened to be there, but he didn't do it on purpose, and he regrets it, and he's feeling guilty about it. And that tells him that he's a human, right? That he's worth saving, as opposed to withdrawing the line here, contrasting between what we and Dr. Tenma believe Johann to be at the moment, what Johann believes himself to be, kind of, or a part of himself to be, and what we see here in terms of like this terrorist, or however you want to call him, right? Freedom fighter, revolutionary, right? Criminal in a way. But this criminal actually has a conscience. He is human, right? You can't understand where his thought process was coming from, and he does regret things that he has done, even if he can't take them back. So, yeah. Very, very curious. And Heckler's out of the debt, but Tenma didn't take the money, obviously. I would wonder if these two are still gonna be connected in a couple of... Maybe this is a contact where Tenma is gonna be like, yeah, I'm on my own mission, I'm doing my own thing, but later on it will come around and it'll be like, okay, there's this guy Heckler that I know in the city. He might be able to help me out because I have this specific request. Maybe that's gonna be the case, but so far Tenma is just ignoring him and keeps going. He's like, dude, just leave me the fuck alone. I got a mission I'm on. But yeah, really, really cool. If you did like this video, we're at the end of the episode. Once again, this has been episode 10 of Monster. I would really appreciate it if you left me a like, and if you subscribe to the channel to see more Monster in the coming weeks. We're generally doing it weekly. Sometimes I'm a couple of days early or late. Sometimes I'm missing a week, but mostly we're doing it weekly. And sometimes we're doing 2 episodes a week. Sometimes we're doing 1, depending on how much time I have and how I feel, right? If I'm in the mood for something. Either way, check out the Discord and the Patreon. I would love to have you, to talk to you. I can't always talk, but I'm somewhat active in the Discord, talking to people if they have anything they are interested in, right? Series they want to talk about, series that I've already seen, or series that I'm watching right now. As long as you don't have any spoilers, I do love to read the Discord. I do love to read the YouTube comments as well, so leave comments if you do feel like it. And check out the Patreon if that is something for you. There's 2-week early access for both Monster and probably at this point Bocce. Bocce might be 1 week, but we'll see, right? Mostly that. And there's also exclusive timer reactions to Spice and Wolf for the patrons, for the lowest Patreon tier. So go check that out if you're interested in that. That's cool as well. And I'll be seeing you on the next reaction.